Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, Permission to Live in the End. Just got back from a movie with my youngest daughter, Robin, and we just saw Fantasy Island. It was great. I loved it. It was a good movie. I'm glad I went. But anyway, I was thinking about why I named this channel Permission to Live in the End. And just thinking about wow, I might have taken for granted that I've said this or that I've shared this, and I don't think I have. Um, I was just thinking about the fact that, wow, what a powerful name, permission to live in the end. Not just for permission, but permission to live in the end. And there my dog goes barking right when I start this video. That's amazing to me. He wasn't barking before I started the video, but right when I started, there he goes. So it's funny. But anyway, I was thinking about, in particular, right before I was recruited to become an educator for one of my area's largest healthcare systems. And I've shared a video here regarding that. I think it was Change Your Conception of Yourself, either part one or part two. Part one or part two. Was talking specifically about my becoming an educator without having a degree to do so. It would have normally required a bachelor's degree, but I didn't need to have a bachelor's degree. But one of the things that I was thinking about that preceded my being recruited was the fact that I was working in the medical records department and I had been there for 3 years before I was recruited. And obviously, I was making some assumptions about myself, which I talk, to you guys on various videos about the assumptions that you're making about yourself are creating your outcomes. So obviously, in that time frame, I was making some assumptions about myself, but I always come around. And begin to ask myself, what's going on? Or I assess what's going on to see if this is what I want to continue to do. And at that time, I realized that I had learned everything I wanted to learn. It was no longer a challenge for me. But instead of complaining about that job that I was in at that time, I started to see myself packing a box and walking out of the medical records department. I would see myself on a regular basis packing a box and walking out of the medical records department. I had no clue where I was going, but I knew I was leaving. So I had to give myself permission to leave, first of all, within myself, and permission to have sight about it. I didn't know all the details as to what was going to happen next, but I gave myself permission. And this is one of the things I talk about that I may have shared on a video here, is that we don't have to know all the answers. We're not going to know all the answers behind a decision that we're making. Our body has enough task to do in getting used to the fact that you just decided you're going to leave something that you've been doing for years. And that's all it needs is like, wow, she woke up to something else. So by virtue of my saying, I was ready to go and seeing myself leaving and being okay with that and seeing myself packing a box and leaving, it was enough to sustain me for however long it did until one day I was recruited out of the medical records department and I became an educator, went from minimum wage to back then it was like $13 an hour. But also there were perks with that as well. I was invited to a lot of leadership meetings that other people couldn't get into. My travel was paid for. Just all kind of perks came with that role. More autonomy, nobody watching over my shoulder 9 to 5. So all kinds of stuff were perks of that. But also when I came to the decision that I wanted to work part-time, making full-time money, that was something I had to give myself permission to believe, because at that time nobody around me was working part-time, not in my immediate surroundings. No one was working part-time making full-time money. Now, with the computer age, you can do that, in a blink of an eye. But At that time, in my immediate surroundings, no one was working part-time, making full-time money. So I had to give myself permission to be in the end in the state of being as if I already was working part-time, making full-time money. So I just wanted to stop by and share this as one of the keys to your ability to move from where you are currently to where you desire to be. And I don't want to take for granted that perhaps you needed to hear that you need to give yourself permission. Because for me, whenever I gave myself permission, it was like a new breath entered in. And I believe that it did because it was a whole nother state of being. I was in a whole nother state of being. But it was in that allowing to give myself that permission to live in the end, in my mind, in my state of being, that allowed me to remain so that everything, even though things around me physically had not changed immediately, that permission gave me the ability to hold on to, maintain, and remain in the state of being as if I was already in the end because I gave myself permission to do so. So I just wanted to stop by and share that, and just for anybody who may have needed to hear that, and to remind myself and tell you why I named this channel Permission, specifically to live in the end. Because it is by giving yourself that permission that you'll be able to step into a state of being that you had not assumed before and be able to stay there. So I thank you very much for stopping by my channel. Click the like button, click the subscribe button, share with somebody you love, and I'll see you on the next video.